First video put together. I wanted to share this because it took me a while to get to this point for such a simple object. This is a faceted 6-point star with draft built for either injection molding or, in this case, chocolate. We're making a master model to then make a mold. Next part of the video will be the steps that I went through to create this. This has been a little bit of a process here. I wanted to show you a video on how I was able to create this faceted star. These rounded corners here, which I couldn't do natively with Fusion 360's fillets and extrudes without jumping through some hoops. Went through several iterations, several video recordings, and each time I did it, I found a different way to do it, reducing steps each time I did it. I'm going to pull up on my palette here, and you'll see that I started off with what I consider my bad fillet star, and I'll show you what I started off with. It was faceted. I like the facet. I did not like the way this curved. Specifically, I didn't like the transition from this angle here to this angle here. Now, this is going to be used for chocolate, creating a master model that the mold will be made out of, or from. I'm putting a pretty aggressive draft, a 15-degree draft, so that it releases from the mold easily. Also, because it's going to be very deep. This one is not reflective, but it's going to be about 12.75 millimeters deep total. I wasn't happy with this, so I did several iterations, and I ended up about midway here, and I figured out something. I stumbled across a step that allowed me to do it. But as you can see along the timeline here, I went through a lot of steps to get to that one point. And as I did the videos, each time I was doing it different. Each time, and eliminating a step or two along the way. Ignoring my own best practices, I went ahead and sketched the whole star shape out when I could have easily just done one portion of it and rotated it, which is what I ended up doing for the final. So we're going to start off replicating this, and you'll notice this one right here I think has 15 steps. We're going to even reduce this process further. I'm going to create a new design. I'm going to turn on my origin. I'm going to start with the top view here. I'm going to select this plane. I'm going to create a sketch. Now, this is a 6-pointed star. I'm going to use a polygon, a circumscribed polygon, right at the center start, and I'm going to pull it out. So, as you can see, right now, this is 6 points because it's 6-pointed star. You could change up the points if you needed to. This is what I'm doing. Right now, I'm pulling it out, and this 22.7 or whatever it is, that's my radius. It's not my diameter. I know that I'm going to start off with a star that has very sharp points before I make them round. So I'm going to start off with what is the start size, that most outer shape of that star before I bring them in. There may be a simpler way, I just have not done that yet. So, that being said, you know what? That's the radius. I'm going to break out the calculator. It's early morning. I just having my first coffee. I don't want to have to math. 21.704. This is the shape of the star, the outermost shape of the star. And now I want to determine the innermost shape of the star, which is about 12.75. I'm going to create a radius there. And I'm leaving this so that I can edit these after the fact. I don't like this. I'm going to make this normal construction so it stops that. At this point, I'm going to create one of the star prongs, I guess. I need to determine the shape of it. I'm going to create a line that goes from the very center line. I'm going to ride along this line until I hit it center. I'm going to bring it all the way into there. Okay. Now, I probably could have went out from out inside like I did there. Start from this point to this point. Same thing. All right. This is the shape of the star I want. I'm going to finish this sketch. Next step is I want to create the height of my facet. I'm going to use this plane to create another sketch. Create a line from the center point. Keep it at 9 degrees. I like how the specify next point always goes right over top of your 90-degree. That's a really cool feature. 5 millimeters. I can change this if I need to. If I want to go back in and change the depth. I'm going to finish this sketch. Now I've got my star shape, prong, and the overall height. I'm going to create a loft from this shape to this very top point. Now I will say I learned this through a tutorial years ago, and it may have been on Autodesk Fusion 360's website. That original poster recommended making this line normal construction. I found it doesn't matter. There may be a benefit, but I have found it as long as you just select this one point where it's the white now, it will do a sharp loft. Nice facet. There we go. That's the shape of my star before I round it off. So I know what the final size of my star is that I want when it's rounded, because I've already based this off of a rendering and a drawing. I didn't just import it in the drawing, I'm going to create it in Fusion. So in order to determine that, I'm going to create another sketch on the same plane right below this shape. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this shape as a reference by projecting it. I'm going to use body. So it selects the outermost shape. Hit OK. I can hide that for a second. Now, my final height from top to very bottom is, I already know it to be, I think it's, I've got it written down, 38.66. but I'm only going to do half of that, so 19.33. I'm going to draw a line. It's 19.33. And that way I can change it as I need to. I'm going to change that to normal construction so it doesn't create any inadvertent selectable areas. And these right now are not editable because we're referencing that outermost point. Now, this may not be best practice either. I could do one of two things. I could break the reference. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to convert it to normal construction, and I'm going to create lines based off of that. For whatever reason, maybe I'm just creating double work. We created that shape. I'm going to actually create a fillet between these 2 points, or 2 lines, segments. Fillet. Wow, that went really far. That's pretty aggressive there. I don't want that. I want to bring it in till it's about this point here. I mean, I'm not going for dead on the line there, but you know, let's call it 1.1. It's pretty darn precise. I could probably do something to snap it right to there, but this is good. What I'm wanting from this are these 2 points right here. Because this line is straight and this is where my curve begins. And that's what I want, is a transition from this curve to the straight. So I'm going to create a line. I'm going to write along there until it snaps to that point. I'm going to bring it right across till it snaps to the other point. Now I should have a selectable face within that sketch, this one and this one. I'm going to use this later. All right, this sketch is done. Finished sketch. I want to turn back all my bodies. I need this curve to affect this, but before I can do that, I need to trim this because I'm going to be creating a loft. What I'm going to use to trim is this line here. I'm going to split this body. I'm going to select my splitting tool. It's going to be this line. So shoot right through there. Now I've got 2 pieces. You know, I could have nixed it, extruded it, got rid of it. It's there. I'm just going to turn it off, hide it. I have my sketch that I created. And I want a loft from here to here, but if I do that, it's just going to be a straight loft shape, very sharp like this. What I need is to create that curve from here to here. So I'm going to switch over to this side here. I'm going to use this plane, which is the midpoint of that shape, and create a sketch. I am going to project this line right here. I don't want to lay the whole body for this one. I guess you could do the whole body, but I'm using just this line right here. You can see it's projected now. I also want to make sure that I'm projecting this point, which is the outermost part of that fillet on the other sketch. There. Now I'm going to follow this line. I'm going to create a line. It's running right along it, right? And I want to make sure it snaps to that and still takes that. I want to carry it up past that bottom reference point. Stop it. And then I'm going to create another line here. You know, and I'm not certain why it's doing that. I want to create the line, and it should be, yeah, again, I like how it's specified next point is right over top what I need to see. So I know that this draft I want to end up with to release this mold is going to be 15 degrees. Right now, this is a 90-degree angle. I want to make sure that this angle is what my final angle is. So I'm going to take it from 90 to 75. It'll lock in there, and I'll just pull that line up. Make sure the lock's on your degrees. And I'll pull it up there. Now, this is great to have for a reference point, but I'm going to lose that in my next step, and I haven't really determined a way to kind of keep it there unless I put some sort of reference points and leave these lines here. Because in this next step, I'm going to do a fillet between this line and this line, and when I do that, I'll inadvertently lose some reference. I want to show you here. So I'm creating this fillet that's a nice curve. If you go too far, you'll see it breaks the geometry. You won't get a smooth transition. You can't go back. You can't go past that line. And I'm going to keep it just pretty much, you know, we'll just leave it, well, I'll leave it right there, 0.965. I mean, I could probably even do it just a 0.97, try to keep it less, you know. All right, we'll leave it right there. I feel like it's a nice transition. So we still have our angle here, and we have our 15-degree angle that transitions into a nice curve into this angle. The reason I'm doing this is I want to keep that sharp line all the way across down to here as much as I can visually from the top, because if you don't, it may fill it when you do a transition from here all the way to the very midpoint, and it just looks odd. But there's this sketch. My next step is to create a loft from this face to this face. I'm going to use this line as my rail. This face to this face. You can see if I don't use that rail, it's very sharp, and that's not what I want. So then I'll go to my rail, select that, and I'll select this shape here. Now it's riding along that rail as it's lofting, and it gives me a smoother transition from this shape. You know, that's a lovely feature. I don't know if you guys have ever encountered this where you get stuck in a perpetual orbit loop. This is another little tidbit I learned. If you find yourself like that, hover over top that cube, hold the shift button down and drag to the left. I don't know why it does that, but it helps break that cycle, and now you can get back to your orbit without it being stuck in the loop. All right, this is the shape, the final shape I want. From here, I'm going to create a circular pattern. Looks like this is my body. And it's like my axis, which will be my y-axis. Go back to the top. Right now I can see that got 3 selected. I want 6. I'm going to combine these now. Sometimes when I combine them, I will keep the tools that I'm combining with. So I might check this, but it keeps those other pieces. In this case, it's a very small, very few steps. I don't feel like I need to do that. I can go back in history pretty easily to alter this without having to feel like I need to go back through 500 steps and recalculate. So I'll leave it unchecked. I'm just going to combine these quickly. Now it's one shape. I've already extruded this 5 millimeters. This is my facet. I know that the total depth I want is 12.75. So I'm going to extrude this another 7.75. And since I created this 15-degree draft right here, I want to make sure that this taper angle, draft angle, matches that. I could make it more, but you'll see it has this weird kink now, like it goes from one angle to the next. Same thing with, I went the opposite way. It just doesn't have quite the same. There's a little bit of a angle there. I want it to be a seamless transition. Now it's riding that same line. All right. So I want to make sure that this height is where I need it to be. I'm going to select that outermost point and the bottom point, and then put 12.75. That's my goal. See that down at the bottom? That's telling me what the height is. There are other ways you can do this too. You can take this shape here. I think it is, get properties, bounding box, and I'm giving my height here 12.75. That just double confirms it for me. So now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 steps to get to this, which is less than double, what it took me initially to do this. I hope this helps anybody that may be doing anything similar to this, or any steps along the process that you've needed, like a faceted star or the draft or extrusion. Thanks a lot.